There are moments in life when you feel like the world has gone silent. Not in a peaceful way, but in a painful way. Like the noise you used to drown in suddenly disappears, and you're left sitting with your thoughts, your heartbreak, your questions. Maybe you're in that moment right now. We live in a world obsessed with speed. A world that celebrates the person who got married first, made their first million by 30, or figured out their life at 21. Somewhere along the way, we internalized this invisible clock, this pressure to hit milestones by a certain age or else feel like we're failing. But the truth is, the universe doesn't operate on your timeline. It works on divine timing. And that's not something you can rush, control, or manipulate. Divine timing is the understanding that everything, your healing, your growth, your breakthroughs, all happen not when you demand them, but when you're ready to receive them. Sometimes life delays what you think you want, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because if it came too early, you wouldn't recognize its value. You might misuse it. You might not be strong enough to carry it. I've seen people get into the relationships they thought they were desperate for, only to realize they weren't emotionally equipped to sustain them. I've seen others land the job they prayed for, but crack under the pressure because they hadn't yet built the discipline or mindset to handle it. Timing isn't just about when something happens. It's about who you are when it happens. It's about the person you've become in the waiting. And I know waiting can feel like the worst kind of silence. It can feel like life has forgotten you while everyone else is moving forward. But what you don't see during the waiting is that the universe is rearranging things in the background, aligning people, places, and lessons so that when it finally does arrive, it fits your life like it was always meant to. That's what divine timing does. It orchestrates meaning into your moments. It aligns your outer world with your inner readiness. But when we live according to deadlines, we rob ourselves of that grace. We compare our journey to someone else's highlight reel. We think success is about who gets there first instead of who gets there whole. We forget that the things that matter, love, purpose, peace, aren't things you achieve by force. They're things you attract by alignment. So maybe the message isn't, why hasn't it happened yet? Maybe the message is, what is life teaching me while I wait? Because every delay has wisdom. Every pause has a purpose. And sometimes the lesson isn't in what you're waiting for, but in who you're becoming as you wait. Divine timing is not late. It's not early. It's precise. And when you stop chasing deadlines and start trusting the timing, you begin to move in sync with something far greater than your own plans. You begin to flow instead of force. And that's where real peace lives. We've all felt it. That sting when something doesn't go the way we hoped. The job we didn't get. The person who walked away. The door that shut when we thought it was finally opening. And in that moment, it's easy to believe we've been rejected, that somehow we weren't good enough, that life is saying no because we're not worthy of a yes. But what if it's not rejection at all? What if it's a redirection in disguise? When we experience disappointment, we often look inward with blame. We think, maybe if I was better, smarter, more lovable, things would have worked out. But what we fail to see in those moments is that not getting what we wanted might be the greatest gift life could have offered us. Because sometimes what you think you want is far smaller than what life actually has planned for you. And that detour, the one you're resenting, might be the very path that leads you to something better, deeper, more aligned. I remember times in my own life where I prayed for certain outcomes. I thought I knew what was best for me. I chased people, titles, and dreams that looked good on the surface, but left me feeling empty on the inside. And when those things didn't work out, I felt crushed. I thought I had failed. But looking back, I now see those failures were just moments of realignment. Life wasn't rejecting me. It was trying to protect me from something that wasn't meant for my future. Rejection can feel harsh. It can shake your confidence, make you question your value. But when you shift your perspective from, why is this happening to me, to, how might this be happening for me, everything changes. You begin to realize that closed doors aren't the end of the road. They're divine interventions. They're signs that you were never meant to settle for something that doesn't match your worth. Think about how many times you've held on to something, thinking it was the best you'd ever have, only to look back later and feel grateful it didn't work out. That relationship that ended made space for the one that truly supports your soul. That job that slipped away opened the door for a calling you didn't even know existed. That failure that knocked you down built the resilience that now carries you forward. We're so quick to define our lives by moments of loss. But what if those losses were just the universe saying, not this, not yet, not here? It's not a punishment, it's a pivot. And when you trust that you're being redirected, not rejected, you allow life to unfold with wisdom instead of resistance. You begin to walk not in fear of what didn't happen, but in faith that something better is already on its way. We often think clarity comes from doing more, reading more books, asking more people, chasing more experiences. We fill our calendars, our minds, and our hearts with noise, hoping the answer will reveal itself in the chaos. But the truth is, clarity doesn't come from accumulation. It comes from release. It comes from letting go. There's a reason you feel heavy, a reason your thoughts feel clouded and your emotions feel tangled, because clarity can't breathe in a space that's already full of expectations, assumptions, and attachments. When you're holding on too tightly to people, outcomes, mistakes, versions of yourself, there's no room for the truth to rise. You can't hear your inner voice over the shouting of your fears. Letting go isn't weakness. It's not giving up. It's choosing to make space. It's the decision to stop forcing what no longer fits. We think if we hold on longer, try harder, or fight more, we'll finally make it work. But sometimes, the very thing you're clinging to is what's blocking your vision. The clarity you're searching for is often hiding beneath the thing you're afraid to release. I've seen this in so many areas of life, holding on to friendships that no longer nourish us because we fear being alone, staying in careers that don't fulfill us because we're scared of starting over, replaying past conversations hoping for closure when sometimes the real closure is knowing you deserved better. In all of these, the clarity didn't come from getting more answers. It came from surrender. It came from the moment you said, I don't need this to define me anymore. And that's when something shifts. When you stop chasing what's leaving and start embracing what's arriving. The fog begins to lift. You start to see yourself not through the lens of your fears, but through the truth of your growth. You realize that what you let go of didn't define your worth. It revealed it. Letting go also teaches you presence, because when you're not consumed by what's behind you or anxious about what's ahead, you finally arrive in the now. And it's in the present moment that clarity feels like peace. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet knowing that you're okay, even if you don't have all the answers yet. So if you're feeling lost, maybe the next step isn't to do more, but to release something. A version of yourself you've outgrown. A relationship that drains more than it gives. A belief that's kept you small. Letting go isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of something real. It's the path to seeing your life clearly, not as it was, but as it can be. We often picture growth as something beautiful and graceful, like a flower blooming in the sunlight or a person calmly evolving into their highest self. But real growth rarely feels that way. In fact, most of the time, growth feels like falling. It feels like losing your balance, losing control, and sometimes even losing yourself. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It can feel like everything is falling apart, when really, everything is slowly falling into place. The reason growth feels like falling is because it pulls you away from what you've always known. It asks you to leave behind the habits, beliefs, and people that no longer serve you, and that kind of shift doesn't happen without resistance. Imagine climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the thinner the air becomes. Your legs ache, your breath shortens, and at times you wonder why you even started. But you don't realize that with every step, you're becoming stronger. You're building endurance. You're seeing the world from a perspective few ever reach. Growth isn't always inspirational quotes and quiet meditation. Sometimes it's late nights filled with self-doubt. It's choosing to walk away from what's familiar even when you have no idea what's next. It's saying no to people who once made you feel seen, just to learn how to see yourself. It's painful because you're shedding layers of yourself that once made you feel safe, but were never meant to carry you forward. There's a moment in every journey where you question everything. You think, why does this hurt so much? If I'm growing, shouldn't it feel good? But the truth is, growth stretches you. It tests your patience. It forces you to sit in discomfort long enough to learn the lesson instead of running from it. And just like falling, it doesn't always give you time to prepare. It catches you off guard. But that's where the transformation begins, in the free fall, in the letting go, in the unknown. Some of the most important breakthroughs in life happen after breakdowns. We discover our strength not when things are easy, but when we have no choice but to rise. The moments where you feel like you're falling apart are often the same moments where the old version of you is dying so the new one can emerge. Like a seed that breaks before it blooms, you're meant to go through discomfort before you can fully expand. So if you feel like you're falling, don't panic. Don't run from it. Lean into it. Let yourself feel the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, because even in that chaos, you are becoming. You are being reshaped by experience, redefined by challenge, and redirected toward your purpose. Falling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're moving. And in time, you'll look back and realize that everything you thought was breaking you was really building you. We often underestimate the power of our own story. We look at our pain and think it was pointless. We look at our mistakes and feel shame. We go through difficult seasons and wonder why we had to face them at all. But what if everything you've experienced, every heartbreak, every loss, every low moment, was shaping something far bigger than just your own healing? What if your story isn't just for you, but for someone else who's walking a similar path? We tend to think we need to be perfect before we can help others, that we need to have everything figured out, be fully healed, be confident and polished. But people don't connect to your perfection. They connect to your honesty. They connect to the raw, unfiltered version of you, the one who's been through darkness and still found a way to carry light. That's what makes your story powerful. Not that it's wrapped up neatly with a happy ending, but that it's real, that it's relatable, that it carries the wisdom of someone who has been there. There's someone out there who feels like they're drowning in the same emotions you once did: anxiety, heartbreak, confusion, fear. They're scrolling through life, trying to find hope, trying to believe that someone understands. And one day, it might be your story, your words, your courage, your journey, that becomes the light in their tunnel. Not because you had all the answers, but because you were brave enough to share the questions. You don't have to be famous or have a huge platform to make an impact. Some of the most life-changing moments come from quiet conversations, heartfelt messages, or the simple act of being vulnerable. Just saying, "I've been through that too," can break walls that years of silence couldn't. Your story becomes a bridge, a connection point, that reminds someone they're not alone, that what they're feeling is human, and that there's a way forward. Even the parts of your story you've tried to hide, and the shame, the failures, the doubts, they carry value, not because the pain was beautiful, but because you are, because you found a way to keep going, because you found lessons in the mess, because you turned your wounds into wisdom. That is something no book or degree or title can offer. That's lived experience, and it's priceless. So instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try asking, How can what I've been through help someone else? Because your story doesn't lose its power in the telling, it multiplies. And every time you choose to share a piece of it, you give someone else permission to believe that healing is possible for them too. So maybe you didn't find this message by accident. Maybe it found you. In the silence between chapters, in the space between confusion and clarity. Because sometimes we don't need a new plan. We don't need to rush or figure everything out. We just need a reminder that we're still becoming, that we're still being guided, that we're exactly where we're meant to be, even if we don't fully understand why. The delay isn't denial, the detour isn't defeat. And the pain, it's shaping a purpose you haven't seen yet.